Dorms, map leaks, the rework, ultimates, new mechanics. What's up guys, it's Black, the official Kamakura, and today I've got some more leaks for you guys. Be sure to join the Discord and official Roblox group for Carnage, both are in the description. And for my Danganronpa cosplayers, be sure to join the private community server inside my description. We all are cosplaying in there, we're playing some cosplay rounds. It's super fun. The only requirement is to have at least one Danganronpa cosplay. Thank you guys so much for all the support in the last video. Clearly you guys enjoy my type of content, and I've enjoyed being able to provide for you guys. So last time we talked about dorms, some map leaks, and every single ultimate that was going to be added in the next update. Yeah, that was last video, and I got a lot of new stuff to talk about, so make sure to like and subscribe. I'm very close to 600 subscribers, and yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing I actually wanted to talk about was the fact that we were getting some new animations for the upcoming update. However, we actually just got this like just now in game. You can go ahead and hop in and check it out, and as always, it's much cooler if you just go out and check out the update for yourself. But of course, I will be here to provide when any update does come out. But yeah, as far as new animations go, we got some new walking animations, a new idle animation as well. This is how it looks like from the side. Looks pretty heavy walking, and then we got the running animation, as you can see here. I actually like this a lot. The running animation looks pretty cool, pretty smooth. Yeah, I like the new animations a lot. Yamura did say he's not sure how people do think, like the animations or not. If you do, please leave your opinion on it in the comments below. I'll let him know what you think. He thinks they're, they're kind of mid, but the running animation, I think we can both agree look really nice. So the next thing I actually wanted to talk about has to do with the ultimates, and another suggestion that I actually had made inside the Discord server. I made a suggestion a while ago about a game pass that lets you choose your ultimate slash, give you a custom one, and this is coming to the game. This will be likely in the game. It might not be exactly the way I have it shown here in the suggestion. This will be indeed be in the game. You will be able to have your own custom ultimate eventually. It'll be just for the role player ideas. Obviously, hiding the real ultimate, we don't want that. It'd be too broken. But at its core, most importantly, you will be able to choose a custom ultimate eventually. This has no type of gameplay advantage. It's literally just a cosmetic thing where instead of displaying ultimate made, you could choose to display ultimate pilot or something stupid like ultimate bus driver. Whatever you want, this is coming to the game. So again, in the last video I said don't worry if your favorite ultimate is in the game, because with the new custom ultimate game pass that does eventually come out, you will be able to do this. Now, this is just another thing I wanted to talk about. Shout out to Rain, Mercury_MP4. They made a suggestion, it's kind of similar to mine, where we talked about custom ultimates. Sadly, this won't be happening just because, like we said, we don't really want to give any custom ultimate any type of super advantage. I think if custom ultimates are happening, it'll just be completely cosmetic. They don't want people to get any kind of gameplay advantage. However, I do think that, posting your own ultimate talent ideas is still a good idea, in the suggestions channel. But of course, this won't be happening. We have to keep the custom ultimates idea just completely cosmetic, because if we give a lot of opportunities, then it'll be locked behind a game pass, and that just ends up being really overpowered. We don't want that. So all right, so moving on, I wanted to talk about a few things regarding the trial that you might not actually know about, as well as the weapon rework that's coming and changes to objectives during the Carnage game. Right, I think we can all agree that probably the most boring part of the game is when you're actually searching for weapons, like when the round does start. It's kind of the same, repeat the cycle of looking for food, looking through crates, finding out that there's nothing left, eventually waiting for someone to kill, or 15 minutes end up passing and no one dies and you lose the round, right? So as you can see here, Yamura did say that weapons are getting a change. There's also likely going to be some new weapons getting added. For example, he mentioned the idea of a fire type weapon where you just light an area on fire. But yeah, weapons are getting an interesting change because apparently weapons are guaranteed, and you can also obtain weapons through other ways. But on top of that, you will have tasks that you can now accomplish. I don't really know how that's going to work. I don't think it's going to help you beat the game. It'll probably just be again, just some more stuff for you to actually do while you're there. I actually brought up the suggestion of a mini map because of the whole new map rework, and I will get into that in a bit. But yeah, that's kind of the new idea that's going to happen when it comes to this trial and the weapon daily life rework, I guess you could call it. I would also like to mention that I did bring up the fact that sometimes people complain about how short talking time is. I actually learned something from this. The more people that are alive, the less talking time that you have. The less people that are alive, the more talking time you have. So for example, if 12 people are alive, you only get about 30 seconds or maybe 40 seconds. But if only 5 people are alive, you get way more time to talk. Yeah, again, that's just some extra stuff you might not know about when it comes to the trial. Also, I'm surprised people don't know this, but in order to use your truth bullets, or not truth bullets, whatever, in order to use your consent or rebuttal bullets, the timer has to be white, and that also goes for skipping your turn as well. So yeah, those are just some extra stuff that you gotta keep in mind. Now, but I just mentioned the mini-map idea coming into the game, and the reason I decided to hold back on that for the moment is because that is actually coming into the game as well. However, it would take a bit of time. The reason for that is we we actually saw a suggestion that looked really cool related to reworking what the tablet looks like and does. The way we would change the tablet, right, would also have a transcript, by the way, for the trial, right? It would have multiple tabs. You would have your map tab, you know, your little mini map. It would have the zbed files, whatever that might be, you know, if there is a zbed file for the current case. It would have a message tab that I'm assuming that would be your transcript or maybe a private way to message people. It would have a player tab. Obviously, you know, we take a look at the player list, whether through, you know, you press escape or you press tab. It'll just be easier to check through with your tablet. Then it'll also have a rule tab. I think the rule tab would be good in the sense of helping out newer players and they don't really know what to do. I think it could kind of also be a tip tab in a way. I think that would be cool too if it had like an extra tab that like occasionally showed something, or maybe if on the way to the trial, like the elevator animation, it showed like a tip or something that was like, oh, you can wash blood off in the sink in the bathrooms, because it kind of does do that at the start of the game, but there's not really any other time where it does that, and I think that'd be really helpful. If you have an ultimate that relates to the zbed tablet, whatever you want to call it, zbed tablet, I guess we're gonna go with that. If you have an ultimate that relates to that tablet, such as the programmer or the engineer or the nurse, it would have an extra tab and you can use that to track people or something, and I think that's how he's probably gonna make it, but that's also why it would take some time to do. And again, I do have those pictures on the screen so you can take a look at where he got the inspiration from, or maybe you just want to like get an idea of what it looks like. But yeah, that's kind of how it's gonna go for the whole tablet rework. The last and final thing I want to talk about is something I actually really want to fight for, and I did mention this in the server. I did mention this in the Discord server. People were talking about how difficult it is to have matches because everybody just leaves, and I mentioned that I don't necessarily think that the lack of content is the reason anyone leaves, but rather it's because there are 3 types of lobbies that usually happen, right? And Yamura kind of believes this as well, that public servers are kind of brain dead. You don't really get the same matches, and it's kind of obvious because it is a social game. You only have like a, you know, 1 in 5, 1 of 16 chance to get that good lobby, and as Yamura says, you really shouldn't expect to have invested people 100% of the time, right? But when you do get those games that are really, you know, invested people and they have a lot of fun, it is really fun. Obviously, it's really cool, right? So I mentioned that I think where the issue comes from is actually where it's a lobby that's split between both new players and players who are already very experienced with the game, right? Because you have a lobby full of new players, right? Either one of 2 things are gonna happen. You're gonna have a bunch of new players who are having fun and trying to figure out what to do in the game. They're gonna be failing at times, but I think that's where the beauty of like being a new player comes from. If they mess up, you know, the new players can have a good laugh about it, because again, everybody's new to the game, they don't know what they're doing, right? The veteran players, and they have their own lobby, they're going to have this thing where they of course know what they're doing. Everybody's playing so perfectly, it's like watching competitive pretty much, right? Again, the other case for the new players is where everybody just leaves because they don't enjoy Carnage too much, which is, you know, it's not a huge deal, but that can happen, right? I believe that the worst case in terms of lobbies is when you have both. Is when you have like a split amount of new players, not even a split, it could be like 3 or 4 new players, and then the rest of the lobby be veterans, right? Why is that bad, right? You might not know off the top of your head. The reason that's bad is because if a new player tries to do something in the game, let's say they just go for a kill and it ends up being very sloppy, the veteran players will stomp them every time. Like, I promise you, I mentioned this earlier in the last video. If I'm against an ultimate programmer and they do like a stupid change to file, I'm gonna know they did it, right? And it's obvious that better players at this game are going to stomp the newer players at this game. That will then lead to the newer players wanting to leave the game because they just experienced playing against LeBron for whatever reason, right? And in turn, veterans want to play fuller lobbies. I think that's usually the case. They want to play fuller lobbies. They know they can't 100% of the time play with players that are as good as themselves, but they do want to play with better lobbies. And so what ends up happening is the veteran players leave themselves because obviously everybody ends up leaving, right? So usually whenever it's split between new players and veteran players, it goes bad. Again, Yamura agrees. It's one of those games that like the experience is based on who you play with, right? The way that we've been kind of combating that, and I say we, but it's really just Yamura, but the way that the Discord's been combating that is by having their own private server hosting. You know, big shout out to Carmen's Miracle. Anybody who hosts private servers, you know, shout out to you. They have been like, you know, doing their best. Kit Katie, you know, Papaya, anyone with the looking to play role, they will go through and they will try to create lobbies that aren't necessarily bad or, you know, just better than your average public server experience, okay? But the way we're going to combat this is we were talking about the idea of a hardcore mode. The hardcore mode would be the most canon version of Danganronpa in Carnage, right? It's a hardcore mode in which if you get it wrong, everyone dies, right? And there's no respawns at all. It would kind of like work like pro servers and a few other games, you know, the sports games you ever played on, like, you know, Below Rivals or Basketball Zero or Volleyball Legends, right? It would be a pro server where you need around 10 wins to enter, and that way you can split the more competitive players into their own lobby. The thing is, I kind of don't think that hardcore mode should be locked behind pro servers, and maybe if it is, I don't think that pro servers should only feature hardcore mode. Like, I think you should be able to play the normal game just with, you know, quote unquote pros, versus you want to play with pros but now you're locked into this hardcore mode that is clearly much harder than the original game, right? And of course, when you do get the secret ending, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but if you do end up getting the secret ending, it yields 2 wins instead of 1, and And if it's hardcore mode, the reward is that you get way more wins than just 2. And I'm like, that'd be cool. But again, I don't necessarily think pro servers should be locked behind a hardcore mode, because I just want to have fun with better players in like the regular mode. Because right now I think the regular mode is beautiful. I just think that, again, the veteran players are stomping the newer players, and that causes people to want to leave the game because they're not there yet and they'd rather play with noobs, versus veteran players who want to play against other players who are just as good as them. That's kind of the main idea of what I'm trying to get at, is that pro servers are in like the conversation. We have been talking about it. I think they will be a thing that comes out. So yeah, have fun, all the leaderboard players. I hope you guys do enjoy when that eventually comes out. And with that, today's video comes to a close. As always, join the Discord and hop in game and check out some changes for yourself and tell me what you think, because I'll tell the devs. Thank you so much to all of my supporters. You guys motivate me daily and help out the channel. Of course, the Discord are linked below, so be sure to check them both out. Thanks once again. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace.